Crikey! Hello everybody, and Happy New Year! Given that we're now into the month of January, I was trying to think of something to cover here on the channel to start the year off strong. I couldn't really think of anything, so I did what I normally do. I took out my phone, started scrolling the internet, until I came across this video.
What good is a fast car, a flash house, and a gold-plated dunny to me? Absolutely no good at all. I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. I want to save the world. And you know, money's great. I can't get enough money. And you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to buy wilderness areas with it. Every single cent I get goes straight into conservation. And guess what, Charles? I don't give a rip whose money it is, mate. I'll use it and I'll spend it on buying land.
That right there, in case some of you don't know, is the one and only Steve Irwin, also known as the Crocodile Hunter, one of the most incredible people who ever lived on this planet. After I watched that video, a whole smorgasbord of memories came flooding back to me. As a kid, I idolized Steve Irwin. The man had so much love and passion for life, he cared deeply for animals, loved his family, and was just a pure soul. He gained his recognition as the star of the popular series known as the Crocodile Hunter, and was the face of Animal Planet for many years. I myself had a love and passion for learning about animals, and a lot of that comes from watching this guy growing up. Given the immense popularity of Steve Irwin, and since it was the early 2000s where studios would make movies out of just about anything, even if the people involved weren't really actors, it was only a matter of time before Steve Irwin got the feature film treatment, and that came in the form of the Crocodile Hunter Collision Course. Released in 2002 and directed by John Stainton, the film is based on the Crocodile Hunter TV show, which was a nature documentary series. However, given this is a feature film, it couldn't just be the exact same thing as the show. Otherwise, why would people pay to watch it in theaters when they could just watch the same thing at home? So the filmmakers had to do something a little different to help distinguish it from the series. But they also couldn't sway too far away from what made the series so popular in the first place, so therefore they kind of take a bizarre approach to it. It's sort of a hybrid film in a way. The film, of course, stars Steve Irwin and his wife Terry Irwin, who play themselves. It also has a bunch of other actors who I'm not familiar with, aside from David Wenham, who was in Lord of the Rings and Van Helsing. The plot of the film involves a beacon from a US satellite crashing in Australia and getting eaten by a crocodile. This beacon contains very sensitive information and could potentially change the power structure of the world, so the government sends in some agents to go and retrieve it. However, while this is going on, Steve and Terry are in the middle of making their show and are tasked with trying to transport the crocodile that ate the satellite beacon out of harm's way while trying to avoid the US agents, who Steve thinks are actually poachers trying to kill the croc. Aside from that, there's also a subplot about a woman trying to kill a croc for eating her cattle that is accompanied by some wacky shenanigans. The film is presented in two different aspect ratios. One aspect ratio, which is done to mimic that of the show, and another aspect ratio that's more cinematic and reflecting the movie's plot about the satellite beacon. The film often switches back and forth between these different aspect ratios throughout the runtime. Think of it as a normal episode of the show getting hijacked by some other crazy plotline. The way it is done is kind of strange because Steve and Terry act like they're still making the show. For instance, Steve will talk to the audience, and when the other plotline comes into play, you won't see any of the film crew around during the more cinematic aspects. Do they just disappear, or are they only visible to Steve and Terry? Honestly, who knows? The movie is at its best when it embraces the nature documentary style that made the show so popular, and the good news is there's a lot of that in this movie. Seeing Steve with all these different animals and putting himself in danger handling them really brought me back to watching this guy as a kid. I know Steve would pass away only a few years after this movie came out, but my nerves shoot up when I see him handling these highly venomous snakes, spiders, and even wrestling with actual real-life crocodiles, knowing it's all for real and incredibly dangerous. It's super nerve-wracking, but also really educational at the same time. I just love this guy's passion for what he does. Steve was just so charismatic and full of energy that you can't help but love the guy. That being said, though, when the movie isn't focused on Steve, we have to cut back to this missing satellite beacon plotline. The film does drag and gets kind of boring. The truth is, outside of the Irwins, nobody is all that interesting to follow in this movie. If the other actors had some stronger material to work with, or if they were just funnier actors in general, then it would help to elevate the movie a bit. But sadly, they don't have any of that. They're just so forgettable, and I have trouble even remembering most of their names. Whenever they do appear on screen, I kind of wish we would just cut back to seeing what Steve and Terry are doing. The only part involving the agents that gets kind of interesting is when they do confront Steve. At one point, Steve even gets into a fight with one of them on top of his car, and the guy pulls a gun out on him, which, given the family-friendly nature of the show, is a bit wild. I also like that Steve continues to talk with the audience while this man has a loaded gun pointed at him. Moments like this are where the comedy really starts to shine for me. Eventually, Steve and Terry do manage to properly release the crocodile out of harm's way, stop the agents, and they even get a hold of the satellite beacon, which Steve thinks is some kid's toy. The antagonist then gets some sort of lighthearted comeuppance, and the movie ends with the military showing up and surrounding Steve. There's also a bit of footage over the credits with Steve talking that features some footage of Steve with various animals, as we also get a remix of the song Crocodile Rock by arguably the most overly utilized group of the early 2000s, the Baha Men. The reason being is because, according to Steve Irwin himself,
when it comes to the movie, the Crocodile Hunter's Collision Course, Crocs rule. But when it comes to the music, the Baha Men rock. Woohoo!
Going back and rewatching this movie was a nice little trip down memory lane for me. Yeah, the movie isn't great, but I wouldn't call it bad either. There is some enjoyable stuff to it. I appreciate some of the educational aspects about it. I think Steve and Terry are both so pure and likable. I even enjoy how they replaced the MGM lion with a crocodile during the opening of the film. That was a nice little touch. Pacing was a little off at times, especially when it cuts back and forth between the stuff with the agents, the woman trying to kill the crocodile, and the stuff with the Irwins. Pretty much all the stuff not involving the Irwins is kind of forgettable, but let's be real. That stuff isn't why we're watching this movie. We're here to watch the Irwins travel Australia and showcase all the amazing wildlife it has to offer, and when the movie focuses on them, it's enjoyable enough. Don't expect any real deep character stuff for this movie. It's not that kind of film. If you enjoy the series and are just a fan of the Irwins in general, then you'll probably enjoy this movie for what it is. The movie wasn't exactly a monster hit at the box office when it came out, but it did make over $33 million against its $12 million budget. That's not including the revenue made on DVD and TV rights, so while it's not a huge hit, the film still was a financial success. Seeing this movie again reminded me about how much I really miss Steve Irwin and wish he was still around. He just brought so much love and energy into this world. This year actually marks 20 years since he passed away in real life, but even though he's no longer with us, his legacy lives on through his wife and kids, who still run the zoo to this day. Steve was a great man who reminded me of the better aspects of humanity, and I think seeing someone like Steve is a good reminder that there are good people out there with genuine love and passion for life that deeply care about others. It's kind of what inspired me to want to talk about him in the first place. I want to start the year off on a more optimistic note, and Steve reminded me of the good in people, and I think it's important to remember people like that. Steve may no longer be with us, but the memory of him will last forever. Well, there you have it. There's my quick little review on the Crocodile Hunter Collision Course, which I wanted to cover as a means to pay tribute to one of my childhood heroes. So with that being said, what do you think of the movie? What do you think of the show? What do you think of Steve Irwin in general? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Stay tuned for more stuff on the way. We got some fun stuff planned throughout the year, and hopefully no crazy wild shenanigans happen, but on this channel, you never know. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.